One of the names given to Gurudev is Ānanda. Ananda, we can only understand as happiness. But to make a differentiation, it has been translated as bliss. In our Sanskrit literature, even our happiness according to its degrees and its nature have been given different names. Thus, there's something called pleasure, something called as enjoyment, something called as joy. In English, for us, it means all the same, but there are shades of different meaning. Priya, Moda, Pramoda. Such names are given to make us understand the different types of pleasures that we feel, joys that we feel, enjoyment that is there, reveling is there. What is the difference? You are hungry. You are hungry and you get something to eat. There is a sense of relief. But you get something to eat that you like. Priya, no? And then it's something that you like, and that also it is made so well, you enjoy it. And if it's like CIRS food, for the whole year you revel in it to come back again. Sometimes I have no illusions that you come back for me. So, you even keep remembering it, that joy that you get even for such a long time. And there's something we call as happiness. Sukha. Something we call as happiness. And we all experience happiness, but today you had your discussion. Did you find what is the measure of happiness? Or the limit of happiness? Could you find? You found? What is Ananda, or it is translated as bliss, not these days, huh? These days bliss means something totally else. Thank God. You are so tomorrow, not yesterday. Yesterday was something different. You don't know what? You are so yesterday, you don't know. You're too outdated. Oh, you're past teenage. I forgot that. You're so yesterday. You don't know the expressions anymore. So what is bliss? What is the limit or measure of happiness? In Taittiriya Upanishad, the complete, Mimamsa, analysis of happiness is given. And just to give you a brief idea, that if there be a young person, educated, learned, intelligent, plus has got a positive, value-based temperament in life, virtuous, because you may have everything, but you're not virtuous, and has in his command the entire wealth of the earth. Sometimes put it the other way around, for the girls. Yeah? She's young, she's beautiful, she's got all the wealth, jewelry in the world. Yeah. Husband who will do everything for her, and a mother-in-law who loves her. What more could you ask for? Children and grandchildren. Let's put it that way. And a person has got a man has got an unrivaled kingdom. Means no competition. monopoly. That is called as 1 unit of human happiness. Compared to that, what do you have? You tell me. That's called 1 unit of happiness. 100 times that happiness, 100 times that happiness is the happiness that those who are artists, musicians, you see them, they're just singing and they're just reveling. Is it not? 100 times their happiness is the musicians, the artisans of the cosmos, of the world. Listen to the music that is there in the rustle of the trees, the flowing of the water. From what beauty that would manifest. 100 times is their happiness. 100 times is the happiness of what they say is called as karma devatas. You can say the ministers. 100 times the happiness is of the cabinet ministers of the heaven. And 100 times that happiness, now if you calculate those who are good at, any actuals here, 100 times that happiness, already you've given up, is it not? 10 to the power of, and 10 to the power of whatever, it means 10 to the power of 8. We'll say that 10 to the power of 10, but how much is that? You put the 0, 0, 10 and then you think, oh, how much is that? When you see 100,000 or a million, you don't know the difference between it when you write down. 100 times the happiness of the King of Heavens is the happiness of his mentor, his teacher. 100 times the happiness is that is the happiness of one Prajapati, say one of the kings of the galaxies. What do they call them in Star Wars? Okay, you don't know. I cannot say you're so yesterday or so tomorrow, whatever. But you fit somewhere there, not in... Anyway, it's coming up, Star Age. It's coming up. There was one young boy, teenager, sitting with his grandfather, and he says, you all are so yesterday. You are so outdated. Look, we have in our generation televisions, we have in our generation smartphones, we have this in our generation. No? Grandfather heard all this and he said, yes, we were the ones who invented it. What are you doing? Hundred times is the happiness of one of the galaxy kings, you can put that way in our understanding. How many times is the happiness of the creator of the universe, Brahmaji? Of one universe. There are many such universes. And there it rests. And the lifespan of the creator has been pointed out, Brahmaji is pointed out as, one day is 8.36 billion years, something like that. Which even now scientists have confirmed that the expansion of the universe takes that many years and then it will collapse. It takes 8.2 billion years for the world to be, the universe to be in dissolution. This constitutes one day and one night of the Creator. Like that, 365 days multiplied by 100 years is the lifespan of the creation. And the zillions or countless creatures in the world, all their happiness put together, from the beginning of creation to the end of creation, is just one drop. Just one drop of the bliss that is gained by one who has realized himself and has realized the truth. Now, can you measure that happiness? All the happiness that everyone experiences, just one drop. Therefore, Gurudev said one thing once, which of course Guruji also repeats. He looks at us and he says, for that drop of happiness, and you are getting that happiness which is not even a micro atomic happiness. And for that, what do we sacrifice? The bliss. That is Ananda. And that is the Ananda the Rishis or Gurudev came to point out to us. That is the bliss in which one who is Shrotriya, one who has gained the knowledge, and one who is free of all desires. And you can be free of all desires only when you have got that happiness in which there is no lack of fulfillment. I very often shared with you this story. Some of you have heard it, and you like to hear it again and again. Even on the bonfires, you want to hear it again and again. So I'll tell you again. But there are many new people also. It was one of this early morning breakfast bhikshas. I very clearly remember it was Kathopanishad. Gurudev was having bhiksha at someone's house, and this youngster had decided to have a morning bhiksha because would not be so uncourteous to tell the adults that don't come. Knew that on Sunday morning most of them will not wake up, or even if they come for the discourses, they'll go back and sleep. Because the adults had banned the youngsters from coming to bhikshas because we were monopolizing the Swami. There's some people who do that. But because others are inhibited, so this young, Yuvakendra, she decided that we'll have, and told her parents, let the youngsters get time with Swamiji. So you also, parents, just go and come and talk your problems and all that. So you serve and then go inside. Let the youngsters spend time with Gurudev. So it was nice that we were only youngsters sitting. It was a misty morning, cold weather. And that day Gurudev had a bit of a congestion. So he was quietly sitting there. And we also knew when not to trouble him. You know that he's quiet now, so we were singing some bhajans and we were sitting quietly in his presence. Normally we are always talking to him and asking questions, so he was quietly sitting. The lady of the house, and Gurudev was finished the breakfast, he was just about to go. Then she comes from inside, she says, Swamiji, may I make you a good cup of South Indian coffee? And Gurudev had once told me later on, he said, after you've had a dosa, there's nothing like a South Indian coffee. See, chai latte has become very famous. Chai is tea only. But chai, and of course they want to give it that touch, so they call it latte. But chai is chai. But there is nothing like South Indian filter coffee in that tumbler. The sharp-edged rim tumbler. It comes with a small bowl of katori, and it's called the yard coffee. Cappuccino was invented in India. And you don't need these fancy, expensive machines to make a cappuccino. You have the fizz and you also have the concentrated milk. And Gurudev used to dramatize. They made it so tempting. But anyway, that is later on. But that day, and I never used to drink tea or coffee, so we were just sitting there. So she said, may I make you filter coffee? So may I make you a hot drink? And I make very good South Indian coffee. She was not from the South. She had probably grown up in the South. But so she said, I'll make you that coffee. So he nodded his head, Indian style. He said, okay. And she brought, but of course she brought it not in a tumbler, but in her sophisticated crockery. And Gurudev also picked it up as you would take up in style. Everything. I went to watch him, everything was just, everything was so perfect, even how he drank a cup of tea, how he ate. So he picks up the cup of, because it's delicate crockery. Yeah? And very, very British. European. So he takes it up and then he sips it. We're just watching him. And sometimes we're just mechanically watching. We're just watching him was bliss only anyway. So you're just watching him. And he takes it, drinks one cup, and then he slurps the next one. And says, "Whoever said there is no happiness in sense objects?" And we are stunned. We have just come from the Yuva Kendra discussions where whole day we are discussing there is no happiness in sense object, because if happiness was in sense objects, then it would give happiness to all the people at all the period of time. The logic he is given in Manual of Self-Unfoldment. We run after this and that for happiness. But if happiness was in sense object, or any object, or any person, or any being, so the person who says, "Mom, I'll live happily after with him." Mom is looking and said, "But I'll be miserable looking at him." Now, you think he's going to give you happiness. She thinks he's going to give you misery. The same person, for one person is happiness, for the other person is misery. The same object, for one person is happiness. Yeah. The day there are no spices in the food, some people are very happy, there are others are utterly miserable. And the day there is extra spice in the sambar or rasam, otherwise, today the meal was so good. Yeah? If happiness was there in the rasam, it would give you rasa all the time to everybody, just like sweetness in the sugar. And this logic Gurudev only has given. And here suddenly Gurudev is looking and saying, "Whoever said there is no pleasure in sense objects?" And really Indian style. They say something, "You people do not know how to eat." Fork, spoon. Even how to eat he taught me. To those who are sitting on the table with me today, when the payasam came, the Kerala payasam, today was a Kerala meal, Gurudev's birth place, so Kerala place. That also he told me. He said, when you keep on eating sweet, after some time, even sweet is not, So he said, you crush a papad into it. Yeah, our Kerala announcer doesn't know how to eat Kerala food. Yeah. No doubt she comes from down under, but it's not Kerala. It's further down. Yeah. What you should first lick, what you should first eat. There's a complete art in fine dining in Kerala. That was spread for you, but you were just talking. Some even on the banana leaf were eating with fork and spoon. Are they even simple pleasures of life we do not know how to take? That's why we want those exciting pleasures, But anyway, he was just drinking the cup of tea. That's how he used to, in between. This is ek mara. So then he was drinking the cup of tea, cup of coffee, and he was just going on, and we're like, and he kept the cup of tea and got up to, cup of coffee, and got up to leave. And as we were leaving, and we were like, did we hear right what he said? Whoever said there is no pleasure in sense objects. First he said happiness, after he used the word pleasure. And then as he was walking out, he turns around and says, whoever said there is no pleasure in sense object, however, it's only temporary. We cannot deny that we find pleasure or happiness in objects, things, beings, situations. Let's not be hypocrite. Oh, there is nothing. So the people who become suddenly very spiritual. No, there is nothing. I said, the first girl comes. Swamiji, I'm coming for the camp. Yeah, for an intensive camp. In one day we recognize how intensive they are. Yeah. The pleasures or happiness that we get are only temporary. They're not even complete. He used to say very nicely, coffee Ananda is not biscuit Ananda, biscuit Ananda is not cake Ananda is not. Oh, if you have too many biscuits and this thing these days, Gujaratis will say some farsan Ananda also. Some chevda, some murku should be there, murku should be there. To break the taste, some papadam in the sweet payasam. One happiness is not the other happiness. And another wonderful thing is that the joys that we get out of sense objects, they're not complete, they're not fulfilling. They always leave a craving behind to have more, which causes agitation and suffering. At the same time, there is no end of our sorrow in it. Isn't that so? Someone was just now telling me, Swamiji, my parents were complaining. Now don't ask me who it was and don't try to find out who it was. I'm telling real life examples. No? Swamiji, my parents used to be so unhappy with me because they wanted me to work. But now I found the passion of my life. I want to work. Now they're very unhappy I'm not getting married. So the happiness that the person has got a job does not remove the sorrow that that person is not married. And when the person decides to marry and gives up the job, again they are unhappy. And if they've got the job and the marriage, now where are the children? If that happiness keeps you craving for more, and that happiness does not end your sorrow, then that happiness is not what is called as Ānanda or bliss. Just to make you understand what is Ānanda. That complete satisfaction and therefore that complete peace it's not even an excitement of ha-hoo that can happen for some time and then fizzles down. That continuous peace, that continuous bliss cannot be described. It is only compared so many multiple times of what we think is happiness. And that also multiple times is only drop of that happiness. Shankaracharya says in Manisha Panchakam, that a realized master experiences within himself. Therefore, when somebody used to tell Gurudev that, you all took sannyas, he said, you are greater sannyasis. You are greater renunciates. And, all these family people, they love that statement, we are greater than the Swamis. He said, no, you are greater renunciates. We gave up the finite world to gain the infinite. You have given up the infinite for the finite. Whose renunciation is greater? Tell me. What are we giving up for what? And that happiness is gained in knowing yourself. Therefore, when somebody asks Gurudev, what is your mission? What is the motto of your mission? He said maximum happiness to maximum people for a maximum period of time. And this happiness can be gained only when you discover the infinite. There is no other way. The Upanishads are very clear. Yo vai bhuma tat sukham na alpe sukham asti. That which is infinite alone can give you happiness. In the finite, there can be no happiness. Because you always have the craving for more and more and more. That infinite, Anantam itself is called as Ananda. And that infinite Ananta is the nature of everyone. And therefore it has to be discovered. It is not to be gained. It is just to be discovered. And when you discover that that bliss is always with me, that's why you keep hearing, oh, happiness is inside, inside. But inside where? In your lungs? Kidneys? It is the very nature of yourself. What is nature? Our rishis have pointed out your essential nature, which is called as your Swarupa. Then there is the uniqueness you have, which is your particular character, which makes your characteristics. It is called as your Swabhava, your own being. So your own essential nature, your own being, Swabhava. So, Swarupa, Swabhava. And according to your Swabhava should be your duties in life, which is called as your Swadharma. What is the Swarupa of something? That without which it cannot remain, cannot exist. Remove sweetness from sugar. Can there be any sugar? Remove light from the sun. Oh, today, morning, Swamiji, I got up and I saw a dark sun. Some screws must be loose. There's no such thing as a dark sun. The nature of sun is to shine. The nature of fire is to give heat. Without heat, there is no fire. That is called its Swarupa. Sugar can be brown, sugar can be crystal, sugar can be powder, sugar can be white. But sugar is always sweet. That is called as its Swarupa, its nature. Now what is that without which there are things, we think that, oh, Swamiji, I can't just live without chocolates. Swamiji, I cannot live without so-and-so. Before you met so-and-so, what were you doing? Afterwards, when you find someone other, now what happened? We only have an illusion that I can't live without this, I can't live without that. But there's one thing you can never live without, and that is happiness or hope of happiness, isn't it? When even the hope of happiness is gone, you find no purpose in living. If sorrow was your nature, you would be very happy being miserable. Be very satisfied being miserable. But the moment you feel sorrow, you want to remove it. But when you are happy, do you want to say, oh, I think I've had enough of happiness. Let me try a little bit of sorrow. It's not very exciting. We never get tired of happiness, do we? And whenever we experience sorrow, helplessly we seek happiness. This only goes to prove. And if I've proved it to you, I'll be seeing ha-hu expressions right now. That bliss is your nature. All of you are Swarupanandas only. Means your Swarup is Ananda, of the nature of bliss. And Gurudev, every moment you spent with him, he was a mass of bliss. Even if you went to with any sorrow or you went with any pain, he had full sympathy and total compassion. But even that, in any situation, he used to make you laugh. If you lost a job, he said, good. Finally you've got a holiday. Guilt-free holiday you've got. Suddenly he'll make you laugh. A wife said, Swamiji, my husband lost a job. He said, good. Last time you were complaining he had no time for you. Now he's got all time for you. I mean, small things used to make it such a joy. When I was in the ashram, it seems everything that was visiting the ashram, I mean microbes or any such thing, they find a nice resting place. So if anybody come and said, oh, I've got pain here in the ears. I said, yeah, I've been having it for the last 10 days. So once I had something in my eyes were red. So anyway, I went to bow down to Gurudev. He had come to Powai. I was bowing down to Gurudev. And he said, what's happened to your eyes? So I told him it's part of this whole, very casually I told him. I was not making a big deal out of it, so he didn't make a big deal out of it. But he, his compassion, and suddenly he looks at me. And it was my left eye that was at that time hurting. So it was a bit red. I don't remember, it was left or something, it was left. Yeah, it was my left eye, So he looked at it and then he says, oh, so your Parvati is in trouble, your Shiva is doing quite well. Every moment he used to make it into such a joy. We're standing in the lift together in London. He was on the wheelchair, but he would go into the lift and then stand up and walk there. And he, like a roaring lion, he has to sit there. And nobody could feel that he is sick. But at that time, I was just recovering, so I was also limping a little bit. I could that time climb steps, but he sent everybody out of the lift. These London lifts are so small. If you got claustrophobia, never go into any lift in London. So small, so narrow they are, because they were not meant, those old buildings were not meant for it, so they fitted a lift in, So he said, these people, go out, you go out, let him come. He can't climb steps. See, that much care, so much consideration, that he can't care. You all go out, let him come in. So the person who was taking his wheelchair wasn't out, so I walked it. And just before the lift was going up, he stands up, looks at his leg, looks at my leg, looks at his leg, looks at my leg. And he says, I think the people in England will think that Vedanta gives you leg problems. Why? Because the old Swami also has got leg problem, the young Swami also has got leg problem. So the conclusion is, Vedanta gives you leg problems. Oh God, I told this thing in London, the brahmachari there also got leg problems. I mean, he would make every moment into a joyful moment of laughter that you only hear about Krishna. Yeah? A mass of bliss. In midst of all life's melancholies. Laughing and frisking away in all situations in life. Whether it is the forest or whether it's the battlefield. That is what Gurudev. His life just demonstrated nothing but bliss. Every moment, if you are in his presence, would be bliss. They say that when you go to Ramana Maharshi, that you sat in his place and at his feet, and you would become peaceful. But one thing is that if you came in close contact of Gurudev, you could be nothing but just in bliss. You can't, as I said, you can't describe bliss. You would make everything so much fun also. And to know that that happiness of yours is there as your nature and not dependent on anything. And I tell you, it is such a freeing experience. First time when Gurudev announced that we have just started building an ashram in the Himalayas. It was meant to be an ashram for very serious students to come there, maybe retire and pursue tapas, austerity, and have learning, meditation. So I'm conducting a camp there, spiritual camp. It's on Vivek Chudamani, the crest jewel of discrimination. I was just 20 sitting there in the audience, but such a Maharishi, that too also the Himalayas, whose discourses I used to just revel in. And what greater opportunity from childhood, I wanted to go to the Himalayas. I said, great, let us go. Everybody was enthusiastic, as I've told you many times, but one by one, wicket down, and went there. I had no concept of what an ashram is. It's not an international school, mind you. What a concept of an ashram. And really, I'm going to an ashram. Literally, I carried, those days, used to get this Air India briefcase. Literally a briefcase. It was not a bag, not a trolley, not even a trolley, and not the suitcases that you all carry for camp. Now, when we go to Siddhbadi, we'll find out, Overweight. Just one piece of that. After I'm going to an ashram, I didn't even conceive. I thought one pair of clothes I will wash, the other I will wear. So 2 pajama kurta, 1 pant and shirt, I went. And pant of shirt I would not wear in the, ashram. So there's one wash, next day wear. Took 1 towel with me, and I also wondered why did I do something like that? And I thought I'll go for 10 days. We stayed back for 60 days. Because every moment was so, we could say, enjoyable, that we went for 10 days. We didn't want to leave from there. And every 10 days we'd go up to the manager, uncle, please, can we stay 10 days more? He said, there's no place, the other delegates are coming. No, please, can we stay 10 days more? Can we stay 10 days? Now, we were from Hong Kong, plus we were youngsters, and we were the only youngsters there, so they couldn't say no, and uncle, we got our way. Others were thrown out of the ashram because you did not register before. You thought you'll come only for 10 days, the others have to come. So the others who say, they'll have to Gurudev, please. He said, no, you go and ask the managers, you don't tell me. And then Guruji was the Acharya there, so they would go to Guruji and say to Guruji that, Brahmachariji, please, you tell Gurudev to give us place. He said, first of all, you don't come here. And when you come, you don't want to go. Now go. No, but everybody says, it is so peaceful here, it's so blissful here, it's so wonderful here. He said, what blissful? First of all, many of us used to go and use his bathroom and cause 4 o'clock in the month. Because there were not enough bathrooms, they were not. Now don't worry, those who come to Siddhbadi, everything is there. Attached bathroom with heater. We didn't have heater in our bathrooms. We didn't have a mirror in our bathrooms. We were 7 packed in a room on the ground. All we were given was 1 straw mat. Anyway, luckily, and it was cold, mind you. There was no global warming yet. 35 years ago, there was no global warming yet. It was freezing cold in the morning. In all those conditions, and many of us, 7 of us packed in a room, and old and young, so the snoring varieties and late coming room varieties. And we had to walk over each other to go even to the bathroom. And bathroom and toilet, unfortunately, were attached together. So whoever goes inside afterwards, you cannot. And we had to go for Gurudev's meditation class, not at 6:30. Some of you can't get up. 5:30, it is not a matter of choice, mandatory, and not that we wanted to miss it also. And 4 o'clock Vedic chanting used to start, and the person who gets up in my room gets up at 3 o'clock and goes to the bathroom, puts cold water and goes, Om Namah Shivaya, 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 Shivaya. You think dissolution has come forth. And then when he comes out, he thinks he's doing something very auspicious. It's one of those, Chinese alarms that start, Hare Krishna. In the morning it starts off. And he starts his Vedic chanting there, thinking that he doesn't want to sleep. But we are saying like, okay, I know it's very sacred chanting, but you feel guilty, but keep quiet. But in spite of that, so much bliss that none of us wanted to leave after 10 days. 20 days, 30 days, finally they gave up. Our parents also said, stay as long as you want now. Every time you're studying, there was no fax, telegrams, they were very expensive. 4 words, can we stay? Finally, answer came in one line, stay. In spite of all that, we were so much in bliss. And what the greatest discovery, I don't know about anybody else, everybody knew that we didn't want to leave from there. It was so blissful. But the greatest discovery was, didn't have any of the comforts that we were used to. Didn't have any of the convenience that we're used to. Yeah? We didn't have gourmet meals 5 times a day like you get. The time there was no communication also towards Siddhbari that well. So if lunch was bangan and aloo, brinjal and potato, night was potato and brinjal. If we got even fruits or not, if one banana came in, you should have seen, it was like, oh, the small things of life, eating one banana. And I remember after 10 days there was a break. You will want break in 2 days and want to go and eat outside. One day was a break and Gurudev said, you can go, and we went to Dharamsala and there we got that sambosa. Oh, that spicy sambosa. It was like, ah. Afterwards, oh. But afterwards, we never wanted to eat that again. I gave this example in the Gita Marathon camp. They actually went and bought the samosa. That was sheer bliss. But what was the greatest discovery is that without any of these pleasures, only reveling in the knowledge that he gave, every moment there was an unconditional moment of bliss. That Ananda, when you know it is always with you, there are no ifs and buts in your life. If I had this, I would be happy. I'm happy, but that is called as Ananda. And Gurudev's only mission was, with his presence, with his teaching, with his work, was to only spread this Ananda, which is his nature. Nature means he can't stop it. Doctors told him stop it, but he can't stop it. It was only to give this happiness. And that's why anybody who came into his presence would feel that bliss. Very often people do forget things and they do not know where did it come from. But that was the bliss. And his only thing, he said, what can we give back to our Guru? All that the Guru wants is to discover your blissful nature. Be happy. And if you want to pay any debt to the Guru, then go and spread happiness to others, because that is all that he wants. the last words that I heard Gurudev speak to me, it was 1993, after London. Gurudev left for USA, and I stayed back in London for another 3 weeks because he wanted me to, expand the work there. So he left me behind there and he went to USA. And after that, in 1 month, he attained Mahasamadhi. That's the year. There was 100 years of Swami Vivekananda going to the World Parliament of World Religion. And they had asked him to come and speak in Chicago. He was already announced as the man of the millennium, and he was told to take, the project further into the next year, even the Hindu of the year. And he told Guruji that you have taken, the house I was staying with was a very, a trustee of the mission. So Gurudev called for him to tell him, and he was not there, he was traveling, so his wife was there, I was there. So he told, I've called to tell him that they have put this responsibility on me and they refuse to give it to anybody else. But now this frail body will not be able to take it, and therefore, since they're not, you all will have to do, means he was telling that person. Anyway, so tell your husband that, I called for that. And she said, of course, I'm sitting here, and she was talking to him. And they were regularly talking, so he's telling of how, how London people are coming, listening to the discourses and all that. Naturally, it was Guru Purnima. I didn't want to trouble him. Already he must be so much calls. There were no mobile phones or texting and all that. So she handed over the fold to me. And I heard him say something, but I didn't understand. Yet I couldn't say pardon or, what Gurudev, I didn't understand. So he understood that I didn't understand. Again he repeated, Swarup, you're spreading your Swarup, you're spreading your Swarup everywhere. On the phone with the line bad, I didn't understand what he said. And then he said, Swarup, spread your Swarup everywhere. That is Ananda. That's the only thing he wanted out of us. Spread Ananda, bliss to anyone. And if you want to be blissful and happy like he always was, you mean to say there were not situations in the world? The greater a personality you are, the more you have to see the ugliness as well as the sorrows of the world. And the more problems and difficulties people will also give. More will be the challenges. Yet, every moment, he was in bliss and taught us this secret that if you want to be happy and if you are happy, both, then happiness is something that you cannot contain within yourself. You have to share it with others. Then only you are happy. If you say, I'm happy, but I don't want to share with anybody. Cannot be. Sorrows you can be very conjuice about. People don't want to share their sorrow. And good, don't. But sorrow diminishes when you don't give other sorrows, but you speak of your sorrow, it diminishes. But happiness multiplies when you give happiness to others. The only way to be happy moment to moment is spread happiness around you so that those people whom you think can give you happiness must have happiness to give it to you, no? So be happy, spread happiness to others. That was his motto of life.